I've said before that back in the day online, when it came to video game discussions and news, it was way different than it is now. Now things are instantaneous, whether you're on social media or you open up a website or go on YouTube. You can have all of this gaming news thrown at you like scattershot all at once. But back then, things were kind of delayed, as you needed someone maybe to get a hold of the latest magazine and then start posting up images or just write-ups that they themselves did, so it would kind of be a bit of hearsay at times. Or you would have the general rumor that would spread throughout the internet, and a lot of the discussion was done on different message boards and forums. Well, wouldn't you know it, I just came across a forum that's actually had all of its information still there since 1999, and in fact today we're going to take a look at that with the power of hindsight and see what people were saying. So if you guys enjoy this video, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe if you're new. So the forum I'm talking about in question is Ars Open Forum. It's right there, Ars Open Forum. And I kind of just came across this, as people will still at times kind of talk about the idea of going out and finding old forums, because it genuinely is interesting to see what people were saying. In this case, my gosh, 25 years ago. Yeah, it's a different time back then, 2.5 decades. This was before the PS2, just before, I think, just like right around the time the Dreamcast had made its debut, and we were still dealing with technically the PS1, the Nintendo 64, the Sega Saturn. So there was a lot of hopes and dreams in front of people right now. So I figured, like I said, I'll kind of scroll through here. We'll jump around and see what we can find. Anybody ever play The Sims? So I double checked. The Sims came out, from what I saw online, right at the beginning of 2000. It's February 2000. So this is January 23rd. I guess just the lead up to it. I don't know if they're just asking if anyone had played it. They say it looks somewhat interesting. I can't explain it. It just does. This person says, while The Sims looks to be an interesting game, it hasn't done too well at retail stores. Most of the ones I've looked at told me they hadn't sold any copies at all because it's not out yet. It'll be out February 2nd. So it is funny to see this. Again, people kind of discussing what would go on to be an absolute classic. I mean, all of us, I think, in some way, shape, or form know of The Sims or have played one of the many releases. I remember back then, and this probably would have been the first year or so of its release, it was incredibly popular. I had played it, my friends played it. It was an interesting time back then. Although they're citing SimCity, Sim Farm, and then somehow this thread breaks away into Crazy Taxi's cover art not being good, zombie revenge, and then just kind of goes off the rails here. They say it looks okay for one reason. Take a bunch of fake people and make their lives absolutely miserable. Might be fun for like an hour. Dreamcast DVD player. It's got like an exclamation point there. That's right, the Dreamcast will be getting a DVD player soon. Check out the E3 article. That's at IGN. The link doesn't work. They say it looks kind of big to me. So I double-checked this one as well. This would have been, E3, I guess, 2000 here. And, this person says, that's it for, now it works and it's on the front page. That pretty much kills any desire I had for a PSX2, PlayStation 2, especially with the games looking like they are. They look worse than my Dreamcast. Well, unfortunately, once again, the power of hindsight, that accessory or that add-on did not release, and people think it may have even just been a shell that was shown off with no actual functionality to it. Maybe if the Dreamcast had actually gone on to have a full generation, even if it was 4 or 5 years technically of full support and interest from third parties and Sega, maybe it would have materialized, but unfortunately for them, a lot of hopes and dreams and canceled add-ons. This one just says Squaresoft and 3 dots. This is before Square Enix technically. It's just Squaresoft. They say, needs to make some PC-only titles. Oh, no. Even back then, May 2000, people still were asking. They're asking then, still asking now technically, Square, get your games on PC. They say, I haven't had any of their games since Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy 3 because I haven't bought a console since the Super Nintendo and won't stand for ports of PlayStation games. The least they could do is throw us PC Gamers RPG every few years. That's what it says, dude, Square is not going to PC anytime soon. Console-only company. Save your pennies, get a PS2. Like I said, people back then, Square go to PC. Still now, Square go to PC. And while they had made some efforts for PC, it wasn't like full effort. Now it seems like they're going kind of all in just in general across the board. Here we go. Now we're getting serious. Worth getting a Dreamcast, May 21st, 2000. This person is just asking, is it likely to go the way of the Saturn once the PS2 comes out? I realize that's probably kind of difficult to say, but does anyone who works in that sort of area have any idea? Okay, here's Shin. Says regardless of what is coming out, the Dreamcast still worth $200. Keep in mind, I think the following holiday, 2001, it was like $50. The upcoming release of the PS2 does not change the fact that I can play a bunch of great games on the system. No, it's not going to follow the same path as the Saturn did. If the system does not sell as many units as the PS2, it will still be a supported system. The industry can support 2 consoles. The biggest reason that the Dreamcast will survive, in my opinion, is because of the price. I work in a local Babbage's, and there are definitely people who will not be able to afford a PS2 in light of a $150 Dreamcast. People scrap for the $100 PlayStation systems as it is. Yeah, it's tough. This person says the Dreamcast nice, no doubt about it, but it's an evolution, not a revolution, in the sense that it didn't blow me away like the first one. First time I saw PlayStation action. Huh. Yeah. Oh, okay. I think the Dreamcast will be a 4-year system, just like everything else. Dreamcast is too easy and inexpensive for it to develop on. For developers, just frolic to the land of the PS2, never to return. Again, hindsight. Hey, look, this person just got their PS2 deposit back and bought a Dreamcast. I'm actually seeing that a lot on this forum, by the way. Many people seem to, so it came down to, do I think it's going to be the Dreamcast or the PS2? A lot of people seem to have been looking at the Dreamcast as the system to get, which, look, it was available. It wasn't going to be stupid expensive like the PS2 was, as people have mentioned. It's just, who would have thought like a year or two later, Sega would have moved on and been dropping their games on the PS2. And that's not to say that the Dreamcast is a bad system. Of course it's not. It's just unfortunate circumstances for Sega here, and people were just trying to pick and choose which way to go, and it seems like many people were thinking the Dreamcast would be able to pretty much hold up against not only the PS2, but also Microsoft breaking onto the scene with the Xbox, and even technically Nintendo with the GameCube, and yeah, probably not the right side for them to have been on. At least not then. Hey, the following holiday, $50 Dreamcast. It's like $10 for a VMU, and some of the games were $10 or $15. Absolute steal then. Yeah, clean up at that point. But going out and buying a $200 Dreamcast a year before, yeah, probably not. Okay, let's actually move ahead here to where we had the PS2, the GameCube, and the Xbox sort of in the mix. Here we go. Xbox Magazine is out. The hype starts today. Time to start saving that extra change for next year. Also, none of the images seem to load or anything. I mean, a lot of it was hosted off of this forum, and it was sort of just posted up, and that's it. By the way, something I've noticed early days here for the original Xbox, people don't really seem to like it that much. They know what they know, right? So at this time, Sony had the PlayStation, and that was incredible when it came out and ran through the 90s, half the 90s really. But then the PS2 had been out then. Nintendo was well known. Sega was known. Microsoft was breaking onto the scene, and then you got stuff like this. Yeah, I got that spam in my inbox today. Excuse me if I'm not overly excited. Hardware means jack. Gameplay means everything. Come back to me when they have some unannounced titles that knock my socks off. People mention that there's a lot of, there was a media bias, Xbox tax now. Guys, I'm telling you, when the Xbox was trying to break into the scene here, people weren't really overly, I wouldn't say everybody, but there were people on forums that were not thrilled with the idea of Microsoft entering the scene here next to some of the more storied franchises. Microsoft is starting early. This person just pre-ordered their Xbox. This is November 7th, 2000. A lot of faith in that for. Look, are any of you out there so psyched about the Xbox that they would pre-order it today? I know I am. Anyways, does anyone think that Microsoft is just starting a little too early with all of this? This person says you pre-ordered vaporware. Man, I'm so just... They were not having it with this Xbox. Oh, what's this about? Why is the GameCube ignored? Why does everyone ignore the GameCube? I see comparison between Xbox and PS2. Actually, we have really just seen at least I have Xbox and PlayStation 2 while scrolling through all these different forum pages so far, but the GameCube is left out Let's see. That was supposed to be released months ago, but for one. For another thing, the Big N have been failing marketing penetration in comparison to Sony. Sega has their console out. Microsoft is the real deal, so people want to know all about their stuff, and Nintendo doesn't want to make the hype machine mistake that it made with the N64. This person says the GameCube is ignored because at the earliest it might come out will be late 2002. Haplo explains, well, Nintendo is a kiddie company, and I choose to ignore it. And then they put some sort of icon, big grin, GIF. None of it loads. Okay, I saw this thread, and I thought it was the funniest thing with what's happened recently with the Switch 2. As you can see the title, the GameCube downgraded, WTF. Say it seems Nintendo have tried to sneak a change in the specs of the Cube past us during the hype of E3. They've lowered the clock speed for Flipper from 202 megahertz down to 162 megahertz. They changed the memory bandwidth, 3.2 gigabytes per second to 2.6 gigabytes. The Gecko memory bandwidth down to 1.3. Yeah, I mean, it's over, obviously. Well, to be fair, the GameCube didn't exactly do well on the market. I just thought this was funny because we just had a lot of discussion recently around the fabrication of the Switch 2 chipset and how that seems to be 8 nanometer versus like 5 versus 4 or something. Guys, it's been going on for a long time. The idea of downgraded specifications closer to launch or closer to release or reveal. And there's also people in here that say, hey, if it gets good games, I'll get it. If not, I won't. Specs or no specs. I mean, that mindset has been ongoing for a long time, as I mentioned. So it's funny to see people still reacting in that way of were specifications downgraded from what we originally thought it would be. I mean, look, Nintendo can get away by using cheaper and slower chips and still charge the same price as before because people don't care about the specs because Nintendo, they just follow their Pokemon business plan, make it cheap, sell it high, and they will come. Sit back and let the yen roll in. I mean, hey, good job, Tiger Dan. Political correctness and gaming. This should be good. Again, something else that's been around for a long time. Something has been bothering me recently, and I want to know if I'm the only one here who has been thinking this. Game designers, publishers are not willing to take chances with their games. Everything has to be safe and free from anything that might offend a segment of the market, unless the game is an FPS. There's already a large market for violent shooter-type games, so they can basically do whatever they want there. When a game tries to let the gamer do something unethical or immoral, as it is almost always presented in a tongue-in-cheek manner. Take Tropico, for example. Almost all evil sims are done with a bit of humor. I'm sick of the Disney-fied gaming experience. I want something more true to life. I want game makers who are willing to take chances. Well, if they wanted more adult-oriented games, this was May 16th and they posted that 2001. So 5 months later, Grand Theft Auto 3 came out. So there you go. That definitely kicked political correctness in the face there. And then actually just throughout the PS2, the GameCube, Xbox, that generation specifically, I think really started flipping things on its face when it comes to, I mentioned political correctness, but like taking chances because things opened up, I feel like, for more narrative-driven experiences. So another game that came out like right away just about for the PS2 was Metal Gear Solid 2. And that really did challenge sort of the real-world political views pretty much across the board. And it was an awesome time going through it. Got news that the GameCube only costs $199. They said that should bring down the prices for PS2 and Xbox to $199, or even lower for competition this Christmas, so we can all afford to play Metroid Prime, Dead or Alive 3, and Final Fantasy X. That didn't really happen when the GameCube ended up going to like $100 eventually. Like, it took a while. People were excited though. Look, we got the Cartman demonetize your YouTube video quote right here. Got the Star Fox GameCube footage. This would have been Star Fox Adventures. This person says it looks pretty sweet. Sweet, by the way, is used a lot around this time. This was a year, 10 months after Dude Where's My Car came out, and it was a whole thing. Old people, I'm sure, will remember it. So I noticed that just going through a lot of these posts. Sweet is probably one of the most used ways to describe anything that looks good in like the early 2000s. What is this? A new GameCube Metroid 2D? This is a video. I wonder if this works. Oh, it does. It downloaded the video. Hold on a minute. Let's see what we have. All right, here we go. Oh, that's just Super Smash Brothers. Looks like it's off screen. This is what I'm okay, so this is what I mean when I say hearsay. and just kind of throwing information out there on a forum to see. We know this is Smash Brothers Melee, and this is, again, around the mid-2001. And yes, if you just looked at this, you might be like, wait a minute, is that... I mean, Metroid's 2D. Metroid Prime's coming out, right? Because they were talking about that too, but like, maybe there's a 2D one in development as well. And that's kind of how the rumor would spread, because it wasn't quick information hitting. So here's what, I mean, looks to me like a 2D Metroid game, but really it's just Smash Brothers Melee. Also, I told you guys the Metroid Prime thing was quite controversial back then, them going first person with it. Turned out to be a good move because there's some absolute classic games, especially the first one on the GameCube, but people weren't necessarily happy about them taking the console Metroid and making it first person rather than 2D. Now I know why it's called the Xbox. It's pretty funny. Pixis Interactive today announced virtual porn star Bunny Love, the first adult title for Microsoft's new game platform, the Xbox. In an exclusive interview, Mark Media Vice President of Product Development for Pixis told AVN.com that Microsoft is not happy about the move. I understand why Microsoft would be annoyed about this, trying to, again, create a game console and enter that space. And then you have Bunny Love making an adult game for the Xbox. Well, after extensive research on the company's website, turns out this is simply another one of those interactive DVD games. So there's a DVD that they play up as being a game for the Xbox and the PS2, which can play DVDs. So shout out to Clank for taking one for the team. Okay, we got some Mario Sunshine screenshots just came out, along with Metroid screenshots. See what people's reactions are to seeing it for the first time. Say the Mario screens aren't very impressive at all. Looks like the N64 version. These are the Metroid ones look good. Oh, this looks like your average FPS for Metroid Prime. Wow, yeah, this gets slow dial-up connection, so if you had large images, it did the thing where it loaded one bar kind of at a time, and it took forever to see it. This person says their urge to get the GameCube is fading, gone. It's just me, or do the Mario screenshots remind you of... That says EverQuest. Call up Sony, tell them they've got another sale. Wow. People do not like those screenshots. They don't load, unfortunately. So that would be interesting just to kind of see. There's another one here. Let's take a look. Apparently that link takes me to Nintendo World Report. So I guess they used to be planetgamecube.com. But no, I cannot find this image. Actually, the last picture is a screen from Eternal Darkness, not Metroid. Ooh, check out what Crispy says here. I'm not so much worried about the 3D-ness of Metroid as I am about it being developed by a bunch of unknowns instead of Nintendo regulars. Who made that decision anyway? Why have they forsaken the Metroid franchise like this? Do they think people won't notice that it's not a Nintendo game? Wow. They are not feeling confident in not only Metroid Prime, but Retro Studios, which, all right, look, so Retro Studios, they had Metroid Prime Remastered recently, but even before that, it's been a while. So sure, we have Metroid Prime Beyond coming up, right? Metroid Prime 4. And maybe they can kind of course correct from that with a brand new original game. But, I mean, yeah, at this point, they really haven't had a lot. But they were about to break onto the scene, I'd say, with Metroid Prime. So I think a lot of people were going to turn around some of their thoughts here around 3D-ness of Metroid and Retro Studios being unknown. And here it is. Nintendo getting out of the console building market. It's back in 2002. Nintendo plans to expand its share of video game market by focusing on making better games rather than on building increasingly powerful game players, its new president said Thursday. So I guess it was inevitable at some point that large electronics manufacturers, Sony, would outpace companies like Nintendo and Sega in the hardware market. There were parallels drawn here between Nintendo and Sega after seeing what Sony was doing right now in the market, and after seeing Sega just kind of bow out of hardware. People were looking at Nintendo like, are they going to do it? The only difference was, while their console maybe wasn't doing great, they still had a handheld that was. It basically just controlled that entire market, like in terms of handheld games. This person says, do people just not read articles anymore or what? I mean, they kind of still don't. That part really hasn't changed much. All the article is generalized about the whole industry, and this quote really points to it. Doesn't sound like they're going to stop. More like, where does the industry go next? I don't see why Nintendo would leave the hardware business. Since he's an exec, he's just doing what any exec worth of salt does. He's selling his product. Anyone else notice the site it was posted from? Let's see. It just says to... Oh. It's posted from teamxbox.com. Yeah, I think that's enough of that, but that's how it was back then. It was definitely a different time then, and be able to find forums that are technically still archived, and while most of the links don't work, you can still see the conversations back and forth. So hey, if you ever get a chance, go around, take a look, see if you can find some of these different forums that are still out there online. They can be kind of tough to come across, and I just happened to actually come across this forum while I was researching for a different video, so I thought it'd be fun to just kind of go through and see what we could find here just on a random Sunday and have a bit of fun. But let me know what you guys think about this one down below, and if you would like to see more, I guess, archived forums that I maybe can come across, especially if I really go out and try to look for them. Maybe we can find some stuff back when the 360, the PS3, and the Wii were spinning up and rumors were flying all over the place then. Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll see you next time.